One world currency.
The New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole here on the illustrious Orion Talk Radio Network. And just in case anybody is having problems getting over to oriontalkradio.com right now, the website, we're having a little bit of a problem.
Yes, the IT department's tripping over their own feet.
Yes, the website is down right now. So you can either go to micro1650am.com, I think is the other site, or you can go over to federaljack.com, look under radio show chats right up at the top, and just highlight it, and you'll see DTRH chat room. Click on it, and it'll bring you right to my radio show chat page. And you can listen to us. You can chat. You can do whatever you want. Everything you can do at Orion if the site's down. So go on over to federaljack.com, go to the chat room page, and you can check it out there. As you have already heard, my guest for this evening is my good friend and fellow host here.
Sorry, my friend. I didn't mean to cut you off.
/ troublemaker.
Yes, I am. I know. I'm a boat rocker.
Joseph.
You know, it's only because I have high standards. What can I say, you know? When we do a radio show, I kind of like crap to work. It's all, you know? Yeah, it's one of those things. Last night, I tripped over my own feet.
You trip over your own feet often, don't you?
Absolutely. I'm definitely not innocent there. I am very uncoordinated sometimes. So, I mean, it's not trashing anybody. Just saying.
News from...
Saying we all have better days, don't we?
News right now from the inside of the Orion team. They're saying that there are some issues with the service provider itself. So they're working on getting it back up. So the website is not missing. It will be back in action very soon.
Actually, it's up now. I just got it. The boys at GoDaddy. Oh, boy. How do you like that? Well,
who here else thinks GoDaddy sucks? Raise your hand. Yes? Oh, look, the whole room. Oh, look.
I'm virtually raising my hand right now, so there you go.
You know who else sucks, Joe?
Who's that?
Eric Holder.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Why'd you gotta go there, dude?
And President Slobama.
Oh. I mean, really, do we have to pull the Nixon trick? I mean, and the Bush trick? And it ain't. Here's the problem, dude. Nixon claimed executive privilege when the Watergate incident happened.
Right.
And he got impeached. He got, brought up on... in front of the Senate, and you want to know something? He resigned, he got kicked out, but people back then had the balls, at least at that time, to hold him accountable. I mean, that's just the way it was. And today, I just don't think that there are anybody with a set of cojones big enough to do this.
Unfortunately, no. I mean, they're going to hold contempt hearings, but he's in contempt of those contempt hearings. He doesn't even give a shit. Like,
no,
he laughs at this. Look at them.
Right, and to be honest with you, just because you're in contempt of Congress, that's one thing. Okay, so say House of Representatives next week vote, and chances are he's going to be held in contempt by the whole House. And after that, you still got to go through a whole court process in order to get whatever information you want, or
they're going to hold hearings on whether or not they hold him in contempt. I hold him in contempt right now. How's that sound? Okay, let's move on to the public hanging.
Oh, there you see. Now, if that happened, do you want to know how quickly things would turn around in this country? I'm just saying.
You hang 100 international bankers and about 250 to 300 of their cronies. And when I say cronies, I mean the politicians and everybody that serve them. And you do it live on public television. And you know what? A lot of this will stop.
That's not enough. Okay? We need a culling. I know I sound like the New World Order, only that my culling is simply this. Anybody that's egregiously violated the Constitution, their oath, especially in holding public office of that size, that's treason. You know, and treason is punishable by death. I mean, you are betraying your country and you're betraying the people that entrusted you with this power. And I'm sorry. If you can't live up to that standard, you know what the punishment is. This is not rocket science. It's been around for hundreds of years. So you make an example out of everybody.
They would hold anybody else accountable to those standards. Anybody
else. If you did that today, if you did what Eric Holder did, right? Illegally sell firearms, just say that. Where would you be? Would you be dealing with, I think I'm going to hold them in contempt? And would somebody say, oh, no, that Popeye, nope, I like him a lot, so I'm going to exert executive privilege? No. Dude, you'd be breaking big rocks into little rocks at Leavenworth, and you know it.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me off. They wouldn't let you off. They wouldn't be like, well, he's this person, that person, whatever, let him go. No, I would be in jail. I would be forever and ever and ever and ever and ever until my great-great-grandchildren had grandchildren, okay?
Yeah.
That's how but this guy skates, no problem, gets off scot-free.
He's just got that weasel face that you just want to...
Well, I mean, hey, a precedent was set with this douchebag. They let him off for killing innocent children and women over at Waco. So, I mean, once you got kids and women under your belt, once you got their deaths under your belt,
right.
What's a Border Patrol agent, right?
I know. Hey, that was an icebreaker. That was just the tip of the iceberg,
And this should send a message to all the guys. This should send a message to all the minions of the New World Order. Look how little they care about you. So just think about that next time you're beating some innocent protester's head in when technically that rage and anger should be turned and aimed at the appropriate people.
And don't think just because you carry out their will or their whims that you're safe, because you're not. All you are is a tool. That's it. And once that tool loses its use, gonzo, no more. So don't think that you're safe just because you have a badge, you have a gun, and you have taken an oath that you just obviously don't respect or even care about. Don't think that you're safe, because you're not. So it's time to come correct. Everybody come correct and make these elected officials hold this scumbag Holder, who has to be, bar none, the worst attorney general in the history of the United States. And I mean, it's kind of hard to compare him, but I mean, Gonzalez was definitely a scumbag.
Well, him and Janet Reno.
Yeah, Janet Reno was most certainly a scumbag.
They're running a pretty close race, but actually I think he's actually surpassed Reno. And wasn't he the deputy? Wasn't he her deputy when?
Yeah, no, he's got a long history, dude.
So he's still attached to that.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, this guy thinks that there must be no law. I mean, seriously. And what does this say, right? So say you go and do what he does. Hasn't he just set precedent? I mean, the law's invalid because this guy just showed that. So if it doesn't apply to him, How can it apply to you? How can it apply to anybody?
Because he's Eric effing Holder. So he's above the law.
Oh, I see.
Right? No, I don't think so. That's sarcasm, ladies and gentlemen. None of these scumbags are above the law. He is a political appointee. I didn't vote for this piece of shit, and neither did you. Ugh.
What can you say, dude?
Scum.
Yeah, scum is right.
Scum. Scum, 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 ladies and gentlemen. The scum on the nutsack of a toad is better than Eric Holder.
Bad visual.
That's right, Mr. Attorney General.
Nausea.
You should be fired, dirtbag. We're going to break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. Everybody says to me, Joe, oh, you like anarchy because you denounce government lately. You must be an anarchist.
Yeah, that's what we are. We're an anarchist. That's right. Because we just want to run amok, if you will.
Right, exactly. Now, let's get something straight. I agree that there needs to be some sort of structure, but the term government, since I understand what it literally means, there's really, I don't need to have control of my mind. I don't need some bureaucrat trying to control my mind and tell me how I should think or feel. Okay? But as long as I'm not violating anyone's natural rights and law, then F you.
But I want to give you an example of the problem. Okay, Daily Caller. Pelosi rips Holder. Contempt charges. Quote, I could have arrested Karl Rove on any given day. Then why didn't you? That's my question. Why didn't you do what you were supposed to do? And furthermore, how many things could you be arrested for? You know?
Nancy, don't. Let's not play the holier than thou card, Nancy. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Miss, I used the Air Force as my personal valet when I was Speaker of the House. Okay, so F off, Nancy. Miss, we have to pass the bill so we could read what's in it. Okay. Screw you.
Exactly. And herein lies the problem. When somebody does wrong, especially by the American people, then they need to be held to account. And the problem is this little cabal called Congress, they are not going to do each other in. They just don't do that. Because guess what? This Democrat-Republican thing that you see, all this partisan politics, and, you know, you see them just going at it. It's all fake. After they do that, they go eat dinner together. They go have a good time.
Want to go after one another because if one of them got in trouble,
they all get
like a set of dominoes. Because
they're all
connected. Yeah, they're all connected to shady shit and money and taking money from special interest groups and insider trading, which has come out recently. They're all involved in this. That's why they play this game. They play this game to confuse everybody and get people so baffled by the bullshit that they're not paying attention. And then I say they. The general public isn't paying attention to what these scumbags are doing. And I'm willing to bet he's going to walk with no jail time, no penalties, even if they vote he's in contempt. Who cares? What does that do? What does that do? Are the federal marshals going to go out and arrest this scumbag? No, because they work for him.
That's right.
He's the head of the Justice Department. Do you think the FBI is going to go out and arrest him? No. Do you think anybody's going to step up and try to arrest the Attorney General? No. It doesn't mean he's above the law or he's special. Far from it. He's a scumbag. But that doesn't stop these people from getting away with it. This is why we need to do something. We need to hold these people accountable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not saying go get your pitchforks and stuff. I'm saying...
Why not?
Well, no, because that's not going to solve anything.
Well, what is?
We need to make first of all, we need to come up with a solution so we can get rid of them, because we can't get rid of them without, it's like it's like you hate your job, but you quit your job without having something lined up. What we need to do is get people mentally prepared to understand what the next step in the evolution is, and then we won't need them. Then once they're irrelevant, then it's on like Donkey Kong, because there ain't no protection. And then the general public won't look at them and go, well, they're the Attorney General, or they're so-and-so, or they're this person. They won't look at it like that, because they'll be irrelevant, and everybody will see that they're dirtbags, and the price will have to be paid.
You hope that's so. You hope that's so, but my problem is this. This problem is not going to be solved democratically. Ain't going to happen, because these people aren't going to let up their power that easily. So something's got to give. You're not going to solve this by having elections. The elections are rigged. And obviously, look at the choices we have yet again. You know, Ron Paul won Iowa. He won Iowa. He won it right off the bat. Problem was, the Iowa Republican Party didn't want to admit it. Why? Because if Ron Paul wins Iowa, oh, hell, he's got momentum. And we've already seen he's won 5 other states. So we can't have that. So we're not going to be wrong and steal it from him. We're just going to delay telling him long enough for Romney to get the momentum or Santorum. But those were their 2 show ponies. And that's who you have. You have Pooh on one side and Pooh on the other. And you get to take your pick.
Oh, that's great. So I have a choice between slot A, which is filled with Pooh, or slot B, which is filled with Pooh. That's great. Mm-hmm. So I have a choice, Pooh or Pooh. Thanks.
People have to be willing to have the courage and have the selflessness to be able to not consent, to not participate, and to kind of separate themselves. That's the big thing. And I haven't seen enough people want to take that step. You know, the funny thing is we could stop this all tomorrow. We could stop it all tomorrow. Just like the House of Representatives. And they have things that if you don't agree with the law and you can't get it repealed, then you defund it because you don't agree with it. Well, we the people have a Congress that's pretty much kind of mutinied on us. It's not ours. They don't represent us. So why are we paying for it? Why are we participating? Why are we complicit in the crimes? Hell, we pay them. We put them there. So
the car's not running right. We need to shut the car off.
Shut the car off. Okay. You stop the gasoline flow. You stop the money stream, and the house of cards falls.
You got to shut the car off, and we got to remove the bad parts.
But the problem is you will never get more. And I'm going to be generous. You won't get more than 10% of the American population to ever go along with that because the cojones just aren't there. Because the brainwashing has happened for so long, and you've got so many people now that rely on the government for some sort of sustainment, some sort of benefit or welfare or something like that, to where you just won't get that participation. So then Democratic doesn't work, doing like boycotts or not paying, withholding your taxes, putting in under the mattress or whatever. That's not going to work. So what are you left with? That's the problem. I mean,
they're driving it inevitably toward that.
That's what I'm saying.
Because they already have the solution for that, too. That's their prison camps, their police state, their martial law. And they're pushing it so that the American people have no other option but to go down that road. It's like they're closing off every other path.
Exactly right.
What did Kennedy said? Those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. Something like that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what he said.
So they knew this like 50 years ago. It's not like this is something, come on, Popeye. They don't know. Really? Then they shouldn't be in charge. If that's their excuse, you shouldn't be in charge. If you're that dumb, then I don't want you leading anything. Okay? And that's not the way it is, and we all know it. And it's this whole, we got to give them the benefit of the doubt. The government's not that smart. It's bullshit.
No, they're crafty, they're conniving, and it's not the whole government. You have to understand that. I mean, these people at the top, man, they are making some really stupid decisions, but they're doing it deliberately. They want to bring this country down, or at least the interests that put them there want to bring this country down, because the United States is the last hope that the world has to recover any sort of freedom or liberty. We're it. We're the only real armed nation left that's able to defend ourselves and still has an inkling of the cojones that it took to free us the first time.
Imagine what it would do worldwide if the United States citizens stood up and threw all these scumbags out and started holding them accountable for the things they've done, the wars, the looting, the killing. the raping, the pillaging. Imagine what that would do worldwide and what that would spark off. All right,
I know.
we're going to break. So, Joe, if you or I were doing criminal things or any,
Yes.
we would be held accountable for it. Yet,
Would we, though?
Well, yeah, of course, because there's money to be made off that.
Yes.
But in this system that we have today, we're not really running under law. We're running under the color of law. Which is...
Are you getting all technical with me now, man? Come on.
Yes, I'm getting technical because technically we're really already in a state of technical anarchy, aren't we? I mean, there really isn't any law.
Yeah, if the law does not apply from top to bottom, that's anarchy.
So
I don't care how you put it.
Why do I have to follow the rules, but they don't?
You don't.
Well, then there you go. There's your answer, Joe.
But you better be prepared to defend yourself. That's all I'm going to say, because they don't play, but nor do we. So hey, it's even.
Well, honestly, the only way that this is going to become a winning situation is when people finally realize and stop giving up their freedom and stop, contracting everything out to the government. They'll protect me. It's okay. It's better for me. They mean me no harm.
Yes,
it's okay.
They put me in this nice camp here where we make.
There's a McDonald's and a Starbucks.
We crochet and and play. What the hell you call it? Bocce?
Shuffleboard.
Shuffleboard. Yes. It's crazy. I can't believe that that people actually believe this stuff. I mean, just look at history. I mean, that's all you got to do. And I know a lot of people out there don't like history, but even if you don't like it, you really should give it a try, because it's really fascinating once you realize that all of this stuff was foretold. It really was. So
this is disgusting, is what it is. This is if the founding fathers really knew that this was what was gonna happen, I don't even think they would have wasted their time.
Dude, could you imagine today, like, if you could, like, go back to the future, kind of
Bill
like
and Ted style with the phone booth, and go back and
or something like that?
Just get like Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, Jefferson, a few other people, and just be like,
just shuttle him around. Just shuttle him around and say, hey,
what do you think?
Hey, Georgie, look at this. That's a free speech zone over here. Zone? What? Oh, boy.
Ask him, be like, hey, you watched all those guys die in the field of battle.
Yeah.
Was it for that big Target store over there? Was it for that Walmart over there? Was it for the Home Depot up the street?
Hey, how much did you profit from the war? Did you? Yeah.
You start asking some tough.
Yeah, how much did you profit from the war? Did you make a lot of money on it? No? You mean it was
I'd start some shit there, because I'd ask Franklin, what were all the dead skeletons? What were all the dead bodies buried under your basement? Well, I was grave robbing. Yeah, okay. Sure.
Experiments, boy.
Sure. I'm sure you were grave robbing. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you didn't use fresh ones. I'm sure you went and dug some old body out of the ground, right?
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
What way? Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah, right. They all happen to be young.
But seriously, I mean, look at how far we strayed. People don't. The problem is people don't know what freedom really is. They don't. They don't know what freedom really is. They don't know what it means to have total personal responsibility over themselves. I mean, the nanny state's going on for quite a long time. And it really kind of started.
Joe, people talked different 230 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
That's why they understood things differently, because they actually were educated. Nowadays, the words that people use, they don't even use them with the right meaning. Mark Paseo and I were talking about this last Friday. People don't even use the words with the proper context. And they don't know. They don't know. They that's the way they've been trained. And when you try to point it out, they get offended at you. I get people all the time, oh, you think you're better than me? No. I'm trying to point out that you're an idiot. Okay?
Absolutely, I do. I'm Popeye, for God's sake.
Yeah, it's just so irritating. You can tell when people, when they get, you can tell if they're too down, dumbed down. If when you try to explain something to them they instantaneously catch an attitude with you, like you're talking down to them.
Yeah.
You're talking down to me because you know something that I don't. No, you just feel like an idiot. I understand that feeling.
But I mean, this goes back a long way, dude.
Dude, it goes
really
back
does.
thousands and thousands of years. Honestly, people need to stop fooling themselves into believing that none of this exists. For
It
real.
all exists. Absolutely.
I love when you try to have a conversation with somebody and they refute it with, "Oh, you're just a nutbag conspiracy theorist." Oh, I'm a conspiracy theorist because I doubt what the government says to me. Last time I checked, that's called being a skeptic.
That's called doing your duty. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do, is question authority all the time.
That's what it says in the instruction manual.
Yes, it does.
It says you're supposed to throw people out if they are doing bad shit.
But again,
more eloquently, but that's, dumbed down for the blue collar of today.
I mean, we can make excuses all from now till the cows come home. But I'm telling you right now, you can say that the food's tainted. You could say that they put stuff in the food that lowers the testosterone levels in males or whatever, yada, yada, yada. You can give me any excuse you want. But the fact remains that the men in this country are not men at all. As a matter of fact, they're a bunch of spineless you-know-whats.
The women are more men.
The women are more manly than the men are now. And that's why we're in the condition we're in. It's because we are not doing our job in holding these people accountable. It's that simple. It really is. And the men need to step up and be men. And I don't care what excuse you give me. You got to do it. It's time to man up, buck up, and let's freaking fix this thing. Because if people like Eric Holder and people like Barack Obama or John McCain, and I can go on, because they're all criminals, they're all thugs.
And they're not special because they're in some position of power. They're just, they're that guy that you work with that would climb over his dying mother to F his sister. That's who these people are. You know their type. Why would you let this type of jerk-off tell you what to do? You wouldn't do it at your own job, would you? You wouldn't let some weasel dirtbag tell you what to do? No, you'd have a problem with it. So why are you letting these scumbags get away with it?
Can't.
All of them. They're all scumbags. And you know what? Maybe going and rounding them up is what has to be done. And you don't have to, it's not like you would, people would think, you need to run around with tanks and have gun battles and stuff like that. No, it's just, what would happen if 3 million people showed up in D.C. one day and flash mob to take, at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon to go arrest Congress and everybody there?
Or what happens if the military just doesn't play ball? If they just say, you know what?
No.
I don't consent.
One simple word, no.
That's
Everybody should start to fall in love with the word no.
No.
Can you imagine that? They turn around and they tell the Marines, all right, we want you guys to go in there, and you got to, these friggin' civilians, they won't listen to it, so you go get them. You show them. You go get them, Marines. And the Marines turn around and go, no, sir.
No.
We refuse to do that. In fact, we're supposed to protect them, so put your arms behind your back. You're under arrest for treason. Okay?
Right.
That's what should happen.
Exactly. And you want to know something? We have the power to do it. We just got to exercise that power, that authority. That's all we got to do. You just say no. Don't consent. Don't participate.
That's how it starts. That's exactly how it starts.
It catches on like wildfire.
As soon as you start saying no, I will not comply, I will not let you boss me around and be a bully. Right. It's amazing how self-empowering that is. And then you start to actually transfer that over to every other aspect of your life. It just happens that way. And you start to realize how you let people control you. And it's time to take your personal power back. It's as simple as that. You need to, the scene in The Matrix where Neo looks down the hallway and he sees the code and he sees everything for what it really is. And they turn around and they start shooting at him and he puts his hand up. What does he say? He just puts his hand up and he says, no.
That's right.
That's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for our true power. And I don't think we can stop bullets with our hands. That'd be pretty neat if we could. But I don't think we can. I'm realistic. But it's a metaphor for our true power. We do not have to consent and give away our true power as a human being, as infinite consciousness. You don't have to give that up. They've convinced you that you do, but you don't. It's an illusion. It's an illusion.
Would you do a YouTube video for me and try to stop a bullet with your hand and then tell me how that works out for you?
Yeah, that really won't work out too well. All right, we're going to break, ladies and gentlemen. Don't really try to stop any bullets with your hands. That would be bad. All right, we're going to break. We'll be right back. All right, Joe, I'd like to rant on something for a little bit before...
Oh, by all means. Let me sit back. Hold on, let me get my popcorn. And
we continue. Well,
hold on. Wait.
This is
Wait,
along the same lines of what we're talking about.
Hold on. Okay. I'm ready now.
This is along the same lines of what we've been talking about stupidity. And one of my pet peeves is when people assume things, especially when they don't have any information to make an assumption. They just, go off of what they believe, not what is fact. See, that's a big problem. Believing something and it being actual fact, a factual piece of information are two different things.
But really, what is fact?
Well, I mean, did it really happen?
Where's Bob Tuskin, the philosophy major?
Well, I don't want to go down that hole right now. But I don't want to get too philosophical about it, but we'll say that, fact is fact and belief is belief, two different things.
I'll go with that.
So, yesterday, I put up a link on Facebook, and I haven't shared it in a while. So you can obviously tell I'm not trying to make money off of it, or else I would have it flashed on the front page and, a flashy widget with, red arrows pointing to it all over the place.
Thief.
What I'm referring to is the hard drive that I sell. If somebody orders them, you can, I do them by order. And right now, they're 3 terabyte drives. So I have to charge, I think it's like, I don't even have the page open, but I think it's like $290 or something in country. And then it's a little over $300 outside because it costs a lot of money to ship them. It's not my fault. You want to blame anybody, blame the gas companies. They raised the price of oil a couple years ago, and when the airlines and the post office and everybody else started raising fees to match up to it, they never dropped it back down. So it's always just stayed where it is. Anyway, they're not cheap to ship, and I go pick them up. I have to drive all over God's creation. It's not like the post office is a half a mile up the street from my house. So there's a lot to it. Plus, I even say there's a little bit of a setup fee because I have to create, the folders and put everything and organize everything. It takes about 2 days to put one of those drives together. In all reality, no bullshit. It takes like 2 days to put one of those things together. It's a lot of info, dude. A lot. And
3 terabytes?
Yeah. And
Holy moly.
The drive I have listed is like, I don't know, it's an older drive. That Seagate has a newer version of it out, right? So, of course, I buy the newest version of what they have available. And my supplier always tells me, because I bought so many drives from him and so much stuff from him, that they always tell me when the newer stuff is available. So, and I even say, if this drive's not available, I'll get you whenever, something that's equal or even better or whatever. So I always go for the newest one. So right off the bat, I share it on Facebook, right? Just to let people know, and I haven't put it out there in forever. And some tart has to, there's always one. Oh, this is a ripoff and an insult to patriots everywhere. You're charging money for this, and I could go buy the drive, and you're charging for content. And I said, no, I'm not. It says right in there, I'm not charging for content. It tells you, there's setup fee, everything else. Obviously, shipping, I have to go through all of this. So
why do you have to explain yourself?
Oh, I know. No, I know. So I didn't. I wanted to go off on the guy, but I didn't. I kind of like, you know what, this guy's...
You got sidetracked, yeah.
So I let it go.
Okay.
And he continued to comment on other... I guess he had... he followed a couple of the Facebook fan pages that I have access to, and on every one he had to make some sort of comment. And, it just represents... This isn't the first... The reason I bring this up is not really him.
Are you just highlighting the fact that some people have way too much time on their hands?
Well, I'm highlighting the fact that some people are just... I'm going to say it because I'm in a mood tonight. Some people are just assholes. Okay, they want things for free. They want things. They don't bother to put any thought into anything. And by the way, I don't make any money off of them. It's not like I'm pocketing anything. If there is anything left over afterwards, which there usually isn't, maybe 10 or 15 bucks, but if there is something left over, it goes to buy blank DVDs, which actually you can ask anybody that's ever purchased a hard drive from me. They don't just get the hard drive. They always end up getting a stack of flyers in there, at least 100 to 200 flyers, business cards. I throw in whatever free movies I have burned at the time, pocket constitutions. There's plenty of people that have ordered them from me. I'm not really worried about it. Anything, I always throw free stuff in there, bumper stickers, whatever I have laying around at the time. Okay? It's just a matter of people, and this is the reason why we're in the problem we're in, Joe, and this is just an example of it. People would rather look at something, and without even putting an ounce of effort into doing any thought into something or any research or looking into it more than face value, people look at something and within 3 seconds have already made an opinion about it, and that's it. Done. They shut off.
Yeah, because they're so used to having decisions and everything made for them.
Exactly.
That's just the way it is, dude.
It's like dealing with a bunch of 5-year-old petulant children. I swear to God. Most people, I'll say 99.9% of the people, were like, this is a great idea. Thank you for doing this. But there's always one or two morons every time that I post it or out there that have something to say about it. And they always have a comment or a complaint. And it's usually these very same people, I find, that don't get up off their asses to do anything or make an effort to do anything ever whatsoever at all. They're the armchair douchebag quarterbacks that are going to be the critic and tell everybody else how they're doing it wrong.
But here's how the country's supposed to work. You have a good or service that you want to market, and it takes your labor in order to produce that, and you charge something for that. There's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, that's the way the country's supposed to function. Could be bartering. It could be through money. It doesn't matter what it is, but the fact is, you're free to do that. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing illegal about it. And to be quite honest with you, getting 3 terabytes worth of information, as valuable as that, on a 3 terabyte hard drive, that's a deal.
Of course it is. If you actually paid for any of the content, there's over 16,000 videos alone that I've, acquired. And those are the YouTube videos that have been deleted. The ones, this is something I started years ago just because I noticed back in the late 2007 that a lot of these quote-unquote truth videos on YouTube were getting yanked. I'd watch a 9/11 video and I'd be like, man, that's a good video. I should go pull that because, that's the kind of stuff you'd think the government would yank. And I'd go back and the video would be gone. And it would
say, but hey, Britney Spears has like those 10-year-old videos on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and all that stuff is still up there. So I said, you know what? I should start archiving this. And that's all. That's what it started from. And then someone said to me, you should make those available to other people.
It's valuable information, dude.
And to answer the question, when people say, well, why don't you make some sort of special folder and make it downloadable from Federal Jack for free from everybody? Yeah, and my website would never be accessible by anybody because nobody would be able to get on it because the bandwidth would be
sucked up.
And then the people that I already pay, a pretty hefty fee to have, what we got up there and offer it to people for free. We don't charge for Federal Jack, okay? And we pay. Believe me, we pay way more than $100 a month for what we do, but we don't charge for it. But if I did that, you wouldn't even be able to get on the site. I mean, I'd have to pay literally probably $1,500 to $2,000 a month. I'd have to get like some hardcore bandwidth. Seriously, they would literally, because of the amount of bandwidth, they would say to me that they would want to charge me more money. They would say, "Oh, we're going to have a price restructuring," is what they would call it. So it's too cumbersome. We've already thought about it and sat down, and that's why we went the way with the hard drives, because we knew that as it grew and as it got bigger, there'd be no way that we'd be able to. First of all, we wouldn't even be able to hold all that on our server. I'd have to have a separate server just by itself, or probably 2 servers because I don't.
Hey, why don't you get somebody to give that to you for free?
Right. Well, if somebody would offer me the free space. Honestly, I'll tell you right now, if someone offered me the free space to store, the almost 3 terabytes of info online, I would do it, and I would put hyperlinks all over Federal Jack with big red arrows. Download for free here. Download for here. But, until someone donates that space to me, I can't do that. So I have to do it the way we're doing it now. It's the most efficient way to do it. And besides, if you have that hard drive, it does make it easier for you to have screenings and stuff, which people have told me that's what they do. That's the whole reason for doing it. I hope people buy that thing and make 800 million copies of it and give it out for free to as many people as they can. Tear it up. I can't afford to do that. But if you can afford, what would be really good is if there was a bunch of college kids, right, and they were trying to wake people up, if they got together as a group and, usually what happens is 2 or 3 people chip in and get one. And then you take that thing, and if you guys have a special day where you say you're going to set up a laptop for people or whatever, and they could download, you give them, it would probably take more than a day because, like I said, it takes about 2 days to transfer everything over and load it and set it up. But you could probably set up a thing, like maybe even do an email list or have people one by one. You schedule a time to meet up with them, and then they bring their own drive, and they give you the drive, and you say, okay, I'll give it back to you in a couple days or whatever when it's loaded. You could do all that. You could work out the semantics yourself. I'm just trying to say the point is, when you have something like that, Joe, that kind of a tool, the amount of things and the amount of change and effectiveness that you could reach and do are unlimited. So it's just a tool. That's the way I look at it. All right, the break is sneaking up on us. Don't go anywhere. Hour number 1 up. Hour number 2 coming up. We will be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I am your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com, and I am joined by my good friend, fellow radio show host, and all-around shit-stirrer, Joe.
That I am, laddie. That I am.
Yes, today, as you can tell, ladies and gentlemen, I'm in rare form. I do not care. I am not censoring myself. Actually, I am censoring myself. Trust me, I could be worse.
I'm just cosmically exhausted,
yes.
So you have to bear with me.
Joe and I are both exhausted, and after a rough week, I did, by the way, get Master Chief, the computer, back up and running.
Fantastic, yes, and it was because of the support. Because of the support of everybody out there that kind of came together to get you back up, man.
If they didn't actually help out, I don't know what I would have done. So I want to give a big shout out to everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And big shout out to Misha. She knows who she is. She went above and beyond the Call of Duty, and she didn't have to do that, and she did. And it's very greatly appreciated. So thank you very much. And I want to get into a few things, Joe, but I want you to take your pick. You get to choose. What do you want to hear about first? Tommy Chong or the SWAT team?
Tommy Chong.
Okay, well, Tommy Chong's got prostate cancer.
Oh, bad?
Let me see. I don't know if it's stage 4, but he's got prostate cancer. They might have caught it early enough, but he says he's going to treat it with cannabis he's going to do the hemp oil from Rick Simpson.
Oh, yeah, fantastic, man. I think he calls it Phoenix Tears, doesn't he? Isn't that what the hemp oil's called?
They're a little technical term for it, I think so. And he says he says he dates it to and the sickness, the prostate cancer, to when he was in jail, when they put him in jail and he was forced to eat the jail food and the prison food. He got sick while he was in jail, which a lot of people do because there's no nutrition in that jail food whatsoever. None.
What, on the bologna diet? Come on, man. It's got beaks, and it's got hooves, and it's got hog jowls. I mean, come on. That's good stuff. That's packed with nutrients and vitamins.
Yummy. So he dates that back to that. So, yeah, Tommy Chong has cancer. But he is going to be fighting it with the Rick Simpson cure.
There's a couple other people. To highlight the fact that there are natural cures, God put everything on this planet that we need. There's natural remedies for everything. But Suzanne Summers had advanced breast cancer. She solved it holistically. She didn't go and get chemo and all that other crap. That's the thing is that, and my hat's off to him because it takes courage. It takes courage not to freak out and say, I mean, think about it, Popeye. What would happen if you got diagnosed with cancer? Would your wife insist that you go right down to that holistic doctor and get a wrap? Or what? No, they're going to freak out. They're going to flip out and say, oh, you're going to go down to the emergency room right now. You're going to go and get in the hospital. You're going to do whatever. You're going to get that chemo because that's what the doctor tells you.
And as soon as you start freaking out like that, your body starts putting off stress hormones.
Exactly.
That just makes it worse.
Makes it worse.
You can't do that. You got to, if everybody understood that you could cure cancer just like you could, take NyQuil if you have the flu. Exactly. There's the guy that did it with the baking soda over in Europe. There's Dr. Carpenter here. She's got a show on the network. She does a thing where there's certain types of cancer that react to laser treatments. When Judith has been on my show, she's talked about they're called biophages or biophages, and they've known about this stuff again since the 50s and the 60s that stuff will fight against cancer. There's natural ways to beat back cancer. They just don't tell you. They remove that knowledge from you and then pump artificial shit into the food, and everybody wonders why people are getting breast cancer and dropping dead at 40 years old, or prostate cancer. It's not normal. Okay, this rise in cancer, everybody thinks, oh, well, that's the way it is. No, it's not normal. It is not normal. Go read Dr. Mary's Monkey. It is not normal.
You bring that book up a lot.
Because, dude, the information in that book is incredible, and it answers a lot of freaking questions.
Yeah, I was going to say, it must be important.
The fact that Alton Ochsner, right, the guy that was the head of the cancer, all of cancer research and everything, and whatever the hell it was at the time, the Cancer Institute or whatever the frick it's called, the fact that he himself, when he was a medical student, okay, and Ed Haslam talks about this in the book, he was awoken at, I don't know, like 3 o'clock in the morning when he was a student by his professor who said, I'm doing an autopsy right now. And it was on a guy who has lung cancer. You need to get up and come down and see this because this is such a rare thing that you probably won't ever see this again, but maybe once in your whole medical career. So come down and take a look at this so you can see it. And now, lung cancer, I could throw a stone in any direction and hit somebody that's got lung cancer.
Yeah.
60 years ago, 50 years ago, it wasn't like that. It was completely different. So, let me rephrase that. 50, 60 years ago is when it kind of started to amp up. And now it's of epidemic proportions. But back in like the 30s, there wasn't, the late 20s, lung cancer, it wasn't really a problem. But then smoking was introduced heavily, and all the chemicals that they started to put into, the chemicals, it's really when they started adding horrible things to it. Now, I'm sure tobacco itself isn't, awesome for you, but come on.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that that's really true, or do you think that there really wasn't a knowledge as far as the diseases were concerned and, like things like cancer?
No, it
really,
wasn't as rampant as this day.
Because Doc Holliday died of...
tuberculosis.
No, lung cancer.
No, he died of TB.
See, that's what they make you think, but it was really lung cancer. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but do you know that? Is there factual evidence that's
no, I'm busting your chops. That's what I'm doing.
Because you never know. He could have. But honestly, no, it wasn't. It wasn't. There wasn't a huge epidemic of cancer that there is today.
No, dude, obviously. And to be honest with you, I think through genetics, we've just become more prone to it. I really think our
injections, laced with.
Yeah, I think our resistance from
help.
Generations of all these vaccinations and everything else. I really truly think that our resistance to these diseases are quite diminished. The fact that you just said it. With GMO foods, the nutrients in those foods are not. They're hardly there, or not as prevalent as your heirloom seeds or your heirloom vegetables. But that's all people lived on. Plus, you didn't have processed foods and everything else. So in that essence, people were more healthy. Now, what really helped us out wasn't the vaccines. It was hygiene. Around the 30s or 40s when better plumbing, more hygiene habits.
When people really stopped taking baths in like horse troughs.
Yeah,
and took baths.
that kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, that's what caused us to get, more healthy as far as like from the cold or TB.
Don't
or
shower
all
for
that
2
stuff.
weeks. You can wash your face,
Ugh.
wash your hands, but don't shower your body for 2 weeks. Okay,
And crusty son of a gun.
But watch what happens. You'll start to get like rashes on your skin, and you'll start scratching it. Within 2 or 3 days, the rash will be bigger. Well, that's all the starting effects of what people 100 years ago went through because they
all the
didn't wash
time
themselves thoroughly. It's amazing. I know it's a simple concept, but when you wash yourself and anybody that's been in the military will understand this. Why do you think GIs? Why do you think Marines? Why do you think they get trench foot? What do you think that is? That's like athlete's foot on crack. And you get a nasty fungus in there, and that's it. It starts to eat the sweat and the skin and everything else, and the next thing you know, your feet are just raw meat. Well, what do you think that happens from? It happens from lack of hygiene, because in the field, it's a real bitch to take a shower. A grunt's best friend is a fresh pair of socks, some baby powder, and a fresh pair of drawers. And if he gets his hand on some sandy wipes or something, it's heaven. All right, we're going to break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, I'm going to try to get through this clip for you, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to because of the content. Remember I told you there was a second story? There was Tommy Chong, and then there was something else?
Oh, yeah.
The something else is, I'll tell you, I'll read the title of the article. SWAT Cops Sucker Punch Puts Man in Intensive Care. And it's on Federal Jack. Just go to federaljack.com. SWAT Cops Sucker Punch Puts Man in Intensive Care. A guy is in intensive care in Minnesota after a off-duty SWAT cop walked over and sucker punched him in the head.
And why was this?
Because he was on his cell phone talking to his friend who was walking up to meet him at the patio at the restaurant they were at, and he was talking to his friend, and the guy told him, "You're talking too loud. You need to turn it down." And then he said that to him, and then he was like, "Whatever." And then a couple minutes later, he just walked up and sucker punched the guy in the head. And it turns out the guy's a police sergeant, but that's okay because he's a sergeant, so
he can do that. He's above the law,
of course, just like Eric Holder or Barack Obama.
Barack Obama.
As Lord Moncton would call him, Barack Obama. All right, here, I'm going to try to play the clip. And I say I'm going to try because I know I'm not going to get through it. It's just not going to happen. I'm going to attempt to, but you know how it is, Joe.
A father of four is not spending this Father's Day as anyone would like. According to police, a sucker punch at a bar in Andover last night sent him to the hospital.
Yeah, and this afternoon, the man who turned himself into the Anoka County Jail for the crime is a Minneapolis police sergeant. Fox 9's Leah Bino talked exclusively with a longtime friend of the victim who saw it happen last night. First of all, Leah, how's this guy doing?
Well, tonight he's on life support. He's had 2 brain surgeries in the last 24 hours because of bleeding on his brain. But doctors are hopeful because his vitals are good, so that's a very good sign. While his family and friends are dealing with all of that, they're still trying to wrap their heads around the fact that a Minneapolis cop who's been on the job for the past 10 years is in jail because of all of it.
Let me stop right there. First of all, I'm glad the guy's in jail. At least they did the right thing by putting him in jail, okay? But he should be stripped of his badge and everything else. He should lose his job. And this goes to show you why all the police need to be retrained. Because this guy obviously considered himself above this person. Because this person wasn't a police officer. He was just some civilian scum on his cell phone.
Subhuman.
Yes, below, yeah, exactly, subhuman. He's below me. And that's the way the Nazis thought. I'm not kidding. They looked at the Russians like they were beneath them. And maybe at the time, the way they acted, the Russians gave them that idea, whatever. The point is that's the way they looked at them, and they looked at other people as beneath them. So take a cue from what they did. If they could do what they did, then it shouldn't surprise you that this police officer acted the way he did. And it doesn't surprise me. It just pisses me off. All right, I'm going to continue.
This.
Well, everybody's taking it hard. It's tough.
Brian Vanderlee is fighting for his life with his wife and 4 young daughters by his side. His friend since the 7th grade is trying to be as strong as possible. Mike Archambault last spoke to him on his cell phone as he was pulling into Tanner's parking lot in Andover. He was going to meet Vanderlee, his wife, and brother for a drink on the patio.
He said, well, where are you at? Get in here. And I said, I'm in the parking lot, you big dummy. I said, I'll be right in. And he said a couple things to me, and then the phone went dead. Phone conversation just dropped.
One punch during that call left Vanderlee unconscious after his head hit the concrete.
Guy in a black shirt come running out of the patio area of Tanner's. And so a couple guys went chasing after him.
Investigators spent the night searching for the suspect. They quickly learned they were looking for a Minneapolis police sergeant, David Clifford. He's been with the department since 1993 and is currently the executive officer of the SWAT team.
Gee, surprise, surprise, why he acted the way he acted. You know? Surprise, surprise.
A little programmed, are we? See, that's the problem when you take away people's humanity, because they do exactly that. They look at you as subhuman.
Bingo.
And that's so they don't now view themselves as public servants. They view themselves as slave masters.
Yep.
And this is how they're going to act.
Scum. Remember, I told you I had a conversation, well, it was more of a debate with a SWAT captain. I think the guy was out of California. He'd commented on an article that I posted, and the original author of the article and myself got into it with him. And first the author thanked me for reposting his article, and then he was like, he came in and he the guy, the captain was attacking me, and then as I was getting into it, this guy came in because apparently this captain had copy and pasted his argument afterwards at him too. And the whole crux of his argument was, we are at war in this country with scum. Meaning the police. Right. Him and his crew, right? We are at war in this country with scum. And I said to him, see, that's the problem. You look at the citizens like you're at war with them.
What's up with that?
That's a problem. And that's the mentality that these police are being trained today.
When you take that oath, you're making a sacrifice. You're making a sacrifice for your fellow citizens. And unfortunately, they don't view that as such anymore. As a matter of fact, the majority of them, and I mean, don't get me wrong, there's good cops out there. There are. But the system itself is corrupt and has been corrupted for some time. And now, because it's been corrupted for some time, the training has been kind of so ingrained in it that you really need a good house cleaning at this point. I mean, I don't think there's any way around it, dude.
I would say most of the police officers need to get fired. And we need to get good people to do their jobs. And, I'm not picking on anybody, but look, let's be honest. We have to understand that it should be quite the opposite, where people with more intelligence should be the ones going into police work, not people with less intelligence. And as I've highlighted before on plenty of shows,
that's how the military rolls.
Yeah, that's
how they do it.
The police department is hiring. Police departments are all over hiring people with lower IQs
and ex-military too, in droves.
Mm-hmm.
In droves, because they've already got the baseline. They've already been brainwashed and programmed.
They've already kicked doors in and shot people in Iraq.
And that's too right. Yeah, they've lost their innocence. They've lost their innocence. They've lost their humanity. Oh, you're a perfect candidate. Exactly. That's really what it's all about, dude.
Exactly. Because they know that they're less likely to say no or less likely to not do it. And again, police departments want people that they want people that aren't going to disobey orders. They want people that aren't going to question things. And they admit that they had a high turnover rate of smarter individuals. Now, that's not because police work is boring and it gets you nowhere. No. If you do the right thing, you get that personal satisfaction back. think the problem is the smart people realized they were being asked to do things they shouldn't be doing, and that they felt morally questionable or wrong or objected to. So, and of course they would, because their higher IQ, more than 6, would allow them to think with some common sense. Okay, and that scares the shit out of the masters, because they can't have little drones thinking for themselves. You can't have that. You need drones that'll just say, yes, you want me to jump? How high? You want me to beat somebody? How much? Who do you want me to lock up? Who do you want me to kill? What do you want me to do? That's what they need. They don't want independent thought. All right, we're going to break. We'll be right back. Don't be a drone. Stop believing your costume gives you power. I could dress up like Wolverine from the X-Men. It doesn't mean I'm actually going to have adamantium claws. All right, Joe, I'm going to finish this clip about this out-of-control cop, and then there's a few things I want to get into. But
cool.
It's important to highlight this, because it's that mentality of, I wear a costume, so I'm now so-and-so, and they buy into that false ego, that false identity of, I am this police officer, so I am this, I am above the law, and you are below me, and I must, run. I mean, again, like I said going into break, I could dress up like one of the X-Men. I could dress up like Magneto. I could dress up like anybody. It doesn't mean I actually have those superpowers that they do in the comic books. So people need to get over themselves. Well, I'm a police officer. I went to school to be a cop, and I want to uphold the law. If you really wanted to uphold the law, you and all your cop friends would be up in Washington, D.C. right now, and you'd be arresting people like Eric Holder and others. There'd be a list. There'd be a couple thousand of you at the very least going up there and taking care of business. But none of you are upholding what you're supposed to be doing.
That's right. Greg my brother Greg just gave an interesting fact. He says, you want to show how shisty and shady these people in high places are. They spent $110 million on investigating Clinton's in the Monica Lewinsky scandal, but only $14 million on 9/11.
Well, because they're more worried about who left a jizz stain on the dress,
right? Or politics.
And by the way, I could give 2 shits less if Bill Clinton got a blowjob while he was in office. Most presidents do. I don't care. What I care about is all the shady shit he did, all the people that were killed with the Whitewater thing, or how about all the people that died at Waco or Oklahoma City. I could go on and on and on. I could think of more things to investigate Bill Clinton over other than whether or not he got head while he was in the Oval Office. I could give 2 shits less, to be quite honest with you. For real. I could care less. They wasted all that money, but they could care less about what happened on 9/11. And you're a freaking kook if you want to even investigate it.
Exactly.
Because remember, the news media and then the Bush administration told us this was bin Laden. So why did you need an investigation? Believe your government. We're here to protect you. Remember, there are bad Muslims out there that want to get you. Well, now there are, because you killed a lot of friggin' people. So yeah, if you killed all of my family and there was nothing left, and you had taken everything from me, yeah, I'd be pretty pissed at you myself.
Absolutely, dude.
So I can understand what you're doing. I think you guys have a name for it. It's called blowback. It's not like I'm having an epiphany. I'm going off. I'm going off on a tangent. I'm getting off. Let me go back. I'm getting off the subject here, and I
No, but it's good, dude. It's a good rant. I
know.
like it.
I'm just. It's this overriding attitude that these people in power have. And look, even when they're off duty, this is a perfect example. When they're off duty, this guy, he's off duty. You be quiet on your cell phone. Hey, you know what? F you.
Yeah. Yep.
Here's my.
He got sucker punched. He was a coward enough to sucker punch a guy.
Yeah, apparently what he did, and you'll hear the guy explain it. His friend was crouched down on his phone, and he said, "Hey," and as the guy turned around, he punched him in the face. Like that's a real man. It takes a real man to sneak up on somebody like that.
Yep.
Ugh. Just coward. Real man, let me tell you something. Real man wouldn't even use violence. A real man would try to use violence as a last resort. People that try to act like they're big tough guys, I'm going to kick your ass. That's the first thing they resort to. It's because you're afraid. You're a big coward on the inside, and you're not a real man. A real man doesn't need his freaking hands to resolve things. He can do it with his mind and his mouth.
Like Darth Vader, I will choke you with my mind.
Oh, dude, if I could do that shit, there'd be a... don't even get me going. Let me finish this clip. There'd be a list. Almost like we'd be doing it on air. Hey, let's call people up. What'd you say about me? Attorney General Holder.
That'd be like Happy Madison. Remember, I think it was, or not Happy Gilmore. It was Billy Madison. Billy Madison on that movie where they had that sniper guy that was going through all those names, crossing them off. Yeah. I mean, there'd be some people choked. Absolutely.
We'd videotape it and,
Yeah. Probably have like a YouTube channel devoted to it.
I would make it pay-per-view and give the proceeds to the people in Iraq and Pakistan and Yemen, all the little kids we've blown up in Afghanistan, and do something for them. We'd make billions. All right, let me play this clip.
Protect and serve, and this is how he acts when he's out. I mean, they're at a public restaurant. They've got music playing. They've got people conversing, and this guy. I don't understand. I don't understand how it could happen.
A spokesman for the Anoka County Sheriff's Department says Clifford turned himself into jail Sunday afternoon with his attorney by his side. They say he downplayed the incident, but surveillance video from the patio shows otherwise.
The video shows Brian crouched down on the phone. The guy said something. Brian turned around, and the guy wham, just like that.
Investigators confirm what Archambault told us. The only contact Clifford and Vanderlee had during the 20 minutes they were on the patio together prior to the punch was when Clifford asked him to talk more quietly on his cell phone. No one dreamed it would lead to this.
I think he realizes now. I don't think he realized how serious it was last night. And now that word's got out that Brian is in the condition he's in, that he better do what's right.
Sergeant Clifford is being held at the Anoka County Jail awaiting charges for first and third degree assault. Meanwhile, Vanderlee's family is working to put together a fund to help offset the medical costs. He sells advertisements at the Star Tribune and has struggled financially the last couple of years. Back to you, Heidi.
Yeah, Leo, do we know if there were a lot of people on the patio who saw this happen? Did anybody know that this guy was a cop?
We're told it was about 10, 12 people or so. A few of those people were with the victim. A few people were with the sergeant. And it's unclear exactly how police found out that he was a Minneapolis cop that they were looking for. But last night they alerted the Minneapolis Police Department that they were looking for someone within the department. They went to this guy's house, and the family was very relieved this afternoon around 1:30 when they found out that this sergeant turned himself in.
Now, you see how they're like, well, it's unclear how they found out. You just said it.
Yeah, I know.
How many people on the deck with the cops? So obviously there were other cops there, and this happens a lot. I've seen this down here where cops will go out off duty together, hanging out, and then one of them gets drunk or whatever, and down here they have a tendency to drive on the wrong side of the street.
Right.
And get in accidents. And in one case this happened, and then I think somebody ended up dying, if I remember correctly. And long story short, it was all this shadiness where cops were like, even the ones that were, telling him you've been drinking too much, you shouldn't drive. Were like, well, I don't recall being there, and I'm not sure if I remember seeing anything. And they were playing games and stonewalling. And of course, it's you have to be good to each other. We have to take care of each other. No, that's why we have a problem, because people do things and they're not held to account. If I did that, Joe did it, or anybody else did it, we'd be in jail for the rest of our lives, and all of our material possessions would have been yanked from us and given to the people that we caused the pain. And if we killed a family member or something.
That's right.
Okay? So why is it that these scumbags aren't held to the same standard? And you know what? If you are a police officer and you have done this type of thing, and you look out and you play that, I didn't see anything, I don't know nothing. How long before do you think it took, for real, before the cops, how long do you think it really took for the cops to find out that it was one of their own? And if it did take that long, why? Why
Yeah.
did these cops say something earlier? And that's
Right.
investigated too.
Yeah, sure, absolutely, dude. But, this also speaks to another trait that's sorely lacking. We talked about courage being kind of, shall we say there's a shortage? Well, also honor, and that's one thing. It's not the honorable thing to do to sucker punch a dude in that fashion. It's absolutely, I don't know. I can't even, I'm so irritated by that. The words can't describe it, but even in society, I mean, there's no honor. No one respects one another anymore. They don't respect you. Nobody respects your privacy. When you drive down the street, you know what you hear, especially in the summertime, and I'm sure you hear it down in South Florida all the time. Yeah. Thanks for.
Your license plates rattling because they
exactly.
They
Yeah,
have
thanks
a
for that, 'cause I wanna
$1,500 car with a $6,000 stereo system and $15,000 worth of rims on the frickin' thing, and the only thing you hear is a license plate rattling. All right, Joe, we're going to break. Stay tuned. We will be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Final segment. And the analogy that I was giving going into break, I'm going to get a little more detailed with this really quick. You see this a lot. A $500 car, and there's $18,000 worth of crap on it between rims and stereo systems, and sometimes people will put NOS in there, whatever. No one ever really takes care of the car, though. The car itself is always at a base level crap. But it looks nice because maybe they'll put a flashy paint job on it, or some spinning rims and really loud stereo. So it gives off the illusion that it's this really awesome, pimped out car. When in reality, it's this piece of crap. And that is a physical manifestation of everybody's love for bling, for fake crap that you don't need, instead of actually trying to find the real thing. That the bling, they call it, rims, jewelry, whatever, that is a physical manifestation of your ego, and you worshiping that, than rather taking care of at a base level the vehicle itself, which is without it you can't. If the vehicle dies, all that flashy crap really doesn't matter, does it? Because the vehicle doesn't go anywhere. But you don't realize that till it's too late. Now, I use that as an analogy because I used to drive a tow truck back in the day, and I used to see that a lot. I used to see, people with a $500 car, and they would have all this accoutrement on it, but no, the basic mechanics of it were shitty. Well, that's the same thing here. We worship this false idol crap. Everybody, whether it be a politician or, pop stars or whatever, money, I want a car, I want a big flashy house, and you sell your soul for it. In the end, it's not worth it, is it?
Ends up being slavery, man.
Yep.
I mean, think about it.
It's not worth it.
No. And it's funny because one day I asked a guy I knew, he had I can't remember what kind of car it was, but it was a piece of doo-doo, probably worth no more than $1,000. And he did exactly what you said, He got the stereo and he got the rims and everything else. And I said, dude, what's the whole idea behind this? And he says, well, I couldn't get credit for a car, but I could get credit for the rims and the radio. So that's what he did. He paid cash for the car, got credit for the rims and the radio. And that's the way it is. You got these, rent-a-centers and all that kind of stuff. They'll do the rims, they do the stereos and all that, and they'll give credit to anybody. But kind of hard to get a car, like that.
But
so that's why you see
that. It's that, instead of saving your money, instead of saving the money because they, well, I can't get the credit. Well, then, do the right thing and save some money and just buy something decent. And then you can slowly, do whatever you got to do there. No, they want something flashy and loud and, attention grabbing and everything else. And it's this because that's a manifestation. It's a physical manifestation of the false ego. They honestly, when you see people like that, they're not really satisfied. They're trying to satisfy themselves with stuff. That's why rich people constantly, like the uber rich, they're never really satisfied. Most of the time, they're miserable. You ever look at them? You ever see how they have, like, I mean, I'm not saying that's every case, but a lot of these people that are filthy rich, they have no family life because they're not attached to their children and their loved ones the same way. They're not attached to people around them the same way. You know, they don't look at other people, other humans the same way. That's not truly living at all. It's not. I don't care how rich you are. You could be a bazillionaire. If you're not in touch with your soul, if you're not if you've been, if you've sold out basically for the love of that money and the love of the crap that you can get with it, well, then I feel really bad for you. I've lived poor for, growing up, we didn't have a lot of money because my parents were divorced, and there was many years where I wasn't sure if, from month to month if we were going to have a house. And even, now I live, I'm a disabled vet. I couldn't, nobody wants to hire a guy that spends, 2 weeks a month going to doctor's appointments. So I don't have a ton of money, but it doesn't, it'd be nice to have a little more money to take a little stress off, but I would never sell my soul, ever. If I had to choose between being a bazillionaire, like, having someone giving me $1 billion in cash and selling my soul, or forever being where I'm at, but I would have my soul, my self-respect, my dignity, and, I would be able to be a human and connect with people around me and still keep my humanity, it would not even be a choice.
You'd take the $1 billion, wouldn't you?
No, I wouldn't even think about it. Because what is it? I mean, really, what is money at the end of the day? It's cotton with some ink on it.
Yeah, it's got some nice little fibers intertwined there, too. I think that's from the Morgellons.
You ever see money? You ever see where it gets printed?
Yeah.
You ever see how they make it?
Yeah, it's actually a pretty intricate process.
Mm-hmm.
Very difficult.
Extremely, extremely difficult. I really wonder. There's more than just paper there, but I really wonder if they're even. I've heard rumors that they're contemplating, and I don't know if this is true or not, but the magnetic strips in there. And now this is just conjecture, but I've heard that they are thinking of putting like smart dust technology.
I heard about that. Yeah,
and being able to literally track. Like if you don't want to use cash, no problem. We'll
just track where it goes.
Cash with GPS chips inside.
Yeah, exactly.
Uneffing believable, dude. So
no, it's not. No, it's not. Because, dude, think about this. Just on Drudge today, they were talking about drones the size of mosquitoes that are already being deployed and used to intelligence gather. It's really not out of the realm of possibility.
It's you probably have to buy it. I don't know if there's anywhere you can find it. I tried interviewing the people, but for some reason the producers do not want to come on my radio show. They ignore my emails, and I've emailed them probably about 5 or 6 times easily. But there's a movie, if you can find a copy of it to watch. It's called Remote Control War. It's about
I've never heard of it, dude.
50 minutes long. It's a documentary. It was made with the CBC in Canada.
Okay.
And you watch this thing, and they interview these Air Force guys, and they're talking about they're not even talking about if drones. They're talking about, like, drones are already here, and the future stuff is going to be autonomous, and eventually the drone won't, eventually the weak link in the chain will be the human being giving the drone the permission to kill. So they're going to take the human out and give the drone autonomous permission to take out humans.
Dude, was Terminator predictive pre-programming?
Well, all I know is maybe, like, the rest of the general public needs to go watch the movies again.
It's crazy.
If you don't want to watch all 4, just go watch part 4. Okay, because that's the one where it's the dystopian future, and you have all it's not running. It's after Sarah Connor, and it's what the future would look like with all these robots and drones and stuff. Go watch that. Okay, go watch that one. Go watch Terminator Part 4, okay, with Christian Bale. That's the one. Go watch that one, okay? And come back and tell me you think drones are necessary. We don't need Skynet, ladies and gentlemen.
No, but that's exactly what we're getting. Is it not?
It's Bacon. I know Bacon in the chat room is like, yeah, Part 4 stunk. I know it stunk, but it probably stunk because your brain was going, oh, I wouldn't want to live in a future like that. And that's just
no, I wouldn't either.
But they're telling you, that's what we have planned for you, because we don't care about you, and they really don't. You know, it goes along with their transhumanism and all this other crap. For real, if you just go look at any of these dystopian movies where. What was the other one? Future World back in the day with.
Oh yeah. I can't remember who was in it, but
what's his name? Yul Brynner or whatever. The one from the Ten Commandments. He. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right. However you pronounce his name, but he was the one that played one of the robot cowboys, and it was like
Absolutely.
the fantasy land, and they were all robot animatronics, and then they went crazy and started killing people. Oh, but no. No, we've never thought about this stuff before. Robots are.
No, I mean, this isn't a new concept, dude. It's not a new concept.
Remember the movie Runaway with Tom Selleck and Gene Simmons? Again, I'll bring this movie up. They had these little robotic drone spiders that would go and chase people down and inject acid into their veins.
Yep.
And kill them.
No, absolutely. The thing is because this is not a new concept, and because we know the dangers of it, you would seriously think that we would err on the side of caution. At least you'd hope that. But reality says something different. I mean, look at this. This is ridiculous. And they're talking about putting nuclear drones in the air. We just had one crash in Maryland not too long ago. What if that had a nuclear reactor in it? I don't care how big it is or how small it is.
Joe, stop worrying about it. Things like that aren't going to happen. Oh, wait. They have drone crashes in Afghanistan all the time.
All the time. All the time. Yeah, but let's put a reactor on them so they can fly longer.
Yeah, that's awesome. Idiots. I would love to sit down with these people, with the engineers, with a bat and just start talking to them one by one, finger by finger. What? Why did you do this? Smash! All right, well, we're out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hanging out and listening to us today. Joe, thank you for hanging out with me. Appreciate it.
Man, love it. Love it long time.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will be back live Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow night for Joe and Tim Watts over on the Freedom Link radio broadcast. We're out, ladies and gentlemen.